Welcome everyone to the third unit of Grade 3 Science, which is Life Cycles and Traits. Throughout this unit, you're going to be looking at some different key terms and some different key ideas that have to do with who you are and where your different traits and your different actions come from. So first of all, I'd like you to look at our driving question for this unit, and it's going to be, how do given traits affect the survival of all organisms? So this big question is one that it's not a Googleable question, but traits are very important to the survival of organisms, whether that be traits that animals have, traits that we have, or even traits that traits that plants have. Some key vocabulary that you're going to be focusing on are the life cycle, physical traits, nature versus nurture, survival, recessive traits, and dominant traits. Your writing masterpiece for the whole unit is going to be something that's going to look at your family. So throughout this unit, you'll be writing a narrative about your family. You'll be using an interview technique within the unit with one of your immediate family members to learn more about your ancestors or people that are part of your family. Ancestors are going to be people from the distant past, but your family member might only be able to help you with the recent past. So keep that in mind as you're creating this interview. Every week we'll be working towards our end goal of this narrative. For week 1 instructions, what I'd like you to do is first log into Discovery Education and also create a Google drawing which is titled Life Cycles. So remember, a Google drawing can be found in your Google Drive, and then it's going to be a red symbol. After you're done with that, I want you to watch the video on plant and animal life cycles that you see to the right here. It's 14 minutes and 37 seconds long. Then you're going to be creating a flowchart. A flowchart is going to look something like this. It's going to have little boxes or triangles or even just drawings with arrows. And with that, you can create the flowchart first, or you can kind of create the steps within the flowchart as you create it. So on that flowchart, you'll be creating the life cycle of an animal. You can choose any animal. It doesn't matter which one you choose. You can even choose a human. And I want you to make sure you include these 5 basic steps. So again, it should look something like this: birth, baby, adolescent, adulthood, and death. And those are going to be the main steps in the life cycle of all organisms. Remember, although I use the specific words above for different types of animals, do not necessarily use these words. Different animals have different steps. An example that I'd like you to think about will be on the next slide for our math connection. So let me get to that. For your math connection, you are going to be looking at the life cycle of a frog. And as you can see, some of these words, like I said, are a little bit different than what you saw on the previous slide. So keep that in mind. What I want you to do for the math connection is create a Google document titled Math Connections Unit 3, and you'll be creating a bar graph showing the number of days in a frog's life cycle. If you need help creating that bar graph, just click on this link and it'll take you to how to create a bar graph. Using the data to the right, you're going to create that graph. On the left will be the number of days, and the bottom will be the stage of the cycle. And you're going to be creating that bar graph, showing me through bars how many days are in each stage of the life cycle, assuming this is accurate. So remember, you don't have to do the research for this one. You're going to use these numbers that I've already given you. With this, you can either create it on paper or in Google. Either way works, and make sure that you put that into your document titled Math Connections Unit 3. The last thing I want you to do for this week is going to be with your writing connection. It's going to get you started on your interviewing process. A couple things. When setting up an interview, you must focus on the following different concepts. Think about who you're interviewing. How do you want the responses to be? So they can be very direct or short responses, or they can be open-ended, where the person you're interviewing is almost telling a story. And then what are the important questions that you want to ask? So keep those in mind as we keep going. Then you're going to create a Google document titled Interview. And this is where you're going to house your questions and the responses of the person that you're interviewing. On that document, you'll be writing all the questions that you'll be asking. For the sake of this paper, you'll most likely want open-ended questions so you can hear your family's ideas. Direct questions or short answer questions are going to be ones where you just want a very quick answer, a one-word answer. Those open-ended, again, you want to learn more about your family, so you're probably going to use those. After you think about that and you create your interview Google document, I want you to create 8 to 10 open-ended questions that will be answer some of the following questions. So where is your family from originally? What are some of the common cultural and physical traits of your family? Work together to compile a common story that you and your family remember together, so that should be sometime throughout your life. And remember, these concepts you need answered. So for your 8 to 10 questions, you should work to achieve this goal through those questions. So make sure that they're answering these questions. And in those 8 to 10 questions, you can be very specific, or again, you can leave it very open-ended.